Hey everyone, welcome to the 100th episode of Kart Crazy. Whether this is your first visit or maybe this is the 100th time you've been here. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Come along for the ride. Let's get started. All right, so for our 100th episode, I thought I would do something a little bit different. I asked a question on my Facebook page, which is also Kart Crazy, and you're welcome to join that if you haven't already. Posed a question on there. Maybe I'll do a question and answer session. What do y'all think? And I got quite a few responses with some questions, so I thought we would sit down and go through those. Also thought it'd be neat to go through kind of a shop tour. Not that my shop is huge, but go through some of the tools that I use. Maybe you see them on the videos. Maybe I use them in the background. You're not really sure what exactly is going on. Thought we'd go through some of those, and maybe that would help you in your endeavor to repair your own cart. Let's sit down and see what we've got for questions. All right, so my wife's behind the camera here, and she's going to be asking the questions, and I'll do my best to make something up and pull something out of thin air.
How many hours does it take to tear down and rebuild a golf cart?
Well, that's a tough one. There's a lot of factors into that. And we're going to get into another question later that'll help answer this a little bit better. By the way, this is Jordy, if you haven't heard me mention his name on camera. He's my little shop helper. He likes to hang out and jump on the seat, and when there's no seat, he likes to jump in the battery box and just about hurt himself. But that's a story for another day. Anyway, back to the question. If I'm working on a club car precedent and I have all the parts lined up, I can literally do it in one day. But you get into an easy-go, that's not the same case. Easy-go, you're drilling rivets and replacing rivets and doing a lot of things that aren't super fast, I guess we'll say. So that's a big factor. An easy-go would probably take 2 days if you had all the parts lined up. And of course, it depends on how far you're taking it down. If you're going all the way down to the frame, are you going just down to where the outer body is off? So kind of a big question.
Which brings us to the next question. What is your favorite brand?
Ooh, that's a good one. I get asked that a lot. And if you've ever seen me answer it on Facebook, it's hands down Club Car, and I'm going to dial that in a little bit more specific, Club Car Precedent. Club Car Precedent, you've probably heard me say this, but I'm going to say it again for those that are new. They've been building them since 2004. They still make them to this day. They're called a Villager now, but it's the exact same cart, exact same parts. Because of that, parts are everywhere. They're super easy to work on. Aluminum frames, so you don't have to worry about rust. And just my all-time favorite. You can get different aftermarket body kits for them. There's several. You can leave them the same. They look okay the same. They kind of have that turtle shell look to them when they're stock, but I think they've got some great aftermarket bodies. I've done a couple of them on the channel here. Available. So definitely Club Car Precedent, hands down. Second is going to be Easy-Go. I don't mind working on an Easy-Go. I've got kind of the quirks figured out. I've only done 2 Yamahas. Only one of them has been on the channel. Not because I don't like Yamaha. They're just not super popular, I guess, in my area. On Marketplace, you just don't see them a lot. When you do see them, they're generally a little bit more pricey. So that's probably one reason you don't see a lot of Yamahas on the channel. But Club Car Precedent, Easy-Go, Yamaha, and then real soon on the channel we're going to be dipping into an off-brand that I bought called a Rough and Tough. That's a 4-wheel drive. So we'll get into that one of these days on the channel.
Do batteries increase speed?
Okay, so the short answer to that is no. Battery is not going to give you more speed. A 48-volt battery setup is a 48-volt battery setup. However, changing from a lead acid setup to a lithium, you're going to lose about 300-ish pounds. So your takeoff might be a little bit more responsive. Your top end, I have seen increase 1 or 2 miles per hour just by doing the lithium. So kind of yes and no, it depends. Like I said, what battery system you're doing. Brand new batteries, if you've got old wore out lead acid batteries and you're barely getting around the block with it, and you put a fresh set of lead acid batteries, of course you're going to gain speed. So kind of an interesting question, but if you know anything about me, I hate lead acid batteries. So of course you're always going to see Lithium on this channel, and you're always going to see a little bit of performance just by losing all that weight. So keep that in mind.
What are your must-have tools?
Oh, I love this question because I'm kind of a tool junkie. So, um, must have tools, and some of this might be more equipment related. Um, a shop vac. Got to have a shop vac. These things come in full of acorns and peanuts and garbage and trash and everything else. So, first thing I do is just take the shop vac to them. Cobwebs, dirt daubers, it's all coming out. A second one, like I said, not really a tool, but pressure washer. Yeah, you can get these things cleaned up with a garden hose, but not like you can with a pressure washer. Pressure washer is definitely a must-have. Of course, I'm kind of a clean freak, so that's probably a little more biased in that aspect. But if we're flipping the tables a little bit and getting into actual tools, a good floor jack, a good set of jack stands, um, the ability to make my own cables, that has really helped a lot. One of those hydraulic cable crimpers. Like I said, we'll get into that when we do the shop tour a little bit later in the video. That's definitely a must, and just some good basic set of sockets, and something where you're not going to strip bolts and be frustrated with all the time. Sockets and wrenches, your basic hand tools. But those are probably my top 6, 8, 10, whatever it comes out to, as far as tools and equipment go.
What got you into building carts?
Okay, so I really like this question. I've always been kind of a gearhead, and when I started this channel, we didn't have a lot of extra space. The garage was kind of small, but I wanted to be able to tinker with something. And COVID had just kind of hit and I don't want to say in its peak, but we were still in that COVID phase. I wanted something to be able to run around the neighborhood with. I got to looking around, so I actually bought my first cart. It's never been on the channel. I didn't document it video wise a lot. I have a couple little 30-second snippets, but I did a lot of picture documentation and did it that way. But to answer the question, just wanted something to work on, something I could take and transform from ugly and ordinary to I guess cool, and something that everybody would want to own or enjoy and have in their garage. So that's kind of what snowballed the channel, and progressing and documenting it, to be able to share with all of you.
Do you build carts to flip or keep?
Do I build carts to flip or keep? My answer to that is yes. Okay, so every time I get a cart, or almost every time I get a cart, I'm going to say, I'm going to build this one for us. It's going to be awesome, and I'm going to keep it, and we're going to sell the one we currently have. Well, that all more than likely doesn't happen. I really like the cart that I did build for ourselves, with the Navitas conversion, and the lithium battery. My wife prefers that one just because of the styling. I've got the Bandit. If you've watched the Bandit series, I really like the Bandit. I like the way it turned out with the conversion, the temple conversion, and the lift kit, and just everything I chose on that. It's really tall. It is kind of hard to get in and out of. And it's, my wife's only 5 feet tall, so it makes it a little bit challenging, but it's challenging for the dogs to get in and out, especially because the one likes to, jump all the time, and he's got some back problems. Anyway, there's a lot more to that, but I don't even remember what the original question was. Flip or keep carts. That's what it was. So mainly to flip, I guess, if I'm going to answer the question the way it's intended. Normally, I'll buy something and I'll see a potential for a big payday or a big profit, and that's my goal. A lot of times I get attached to them and I say I'm not going to sell them, but more than likely 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna sell that cart. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna make some money and put it into the next one.
What was the first golf cart that you flipped?
And I might have let the cat out of the bag a little bit on this one. I did say it was a Yamaha. I guess I didn't specify. It was a G16. I'll have to see if I can dig up some pictures to share with you here. And it was an old model. I didn't know anything about golf carts. It actually had an aftermarket fiberglass front end on it that was just ugly, and it was a terrible brownish color. And I knew right away I wanted to, obviously change the color. I didn't really know what I was getting into on that aftermarket body, but I was able to find the actual stock replacement piece. I think I actually bought it off of eBay. But the first cart, I believe, don't quote me on this, 2001 Yamaha. I believe they called it a G16.
Are you selling merch to the public?
All right, Cart Crazy merchandise. As you see me wearing now, you might have seen me wear it in the channel. I would love to sell merchandise to the public. Unfortunately, it's not a real easy process. To get a website up and going is pretty difficult. And on the small scale that I am, there isn't really a lot of profit in it, which is neither here nor there at this point. If somebody wants merchandise, I will definitely get you hooked up with some merchandise. You can email me at jeffstege@yahoo.com. I can take a credit card and sell it to you. It's not going to be super cheap, like I said, because I'm on a small scale, so the company doesn't give me a real good discount on it at this point. But if you're interested, absolutely, I will sell merchandise. Down the road, that might be a different story. If the channel grows to the point where there's more of a demand for it, we'll definitely offer it at a good price on a website or some sort of way to purchase it that way. So that being said, make sure you tell your friends and subscribe if you haven't.
What was the cost of the tempo conversion?
Cost of the tempo conversion. What a great question. Had a lot of fun with that video. And this is totally shooting from the hip because I didn't go back in my emails and look. But I want to say it was probably in that $600 range. No, I'm going to correct myself. To do the conversion is about 600, but the light kit was about 300. So probably all in, all done, you're looking at about 900 bucks to do that conversion. You might be able to save a little bit here and there. I did buy all new hardware and everything, which is or is not necessary. You can kind of reuse some of the stuff from the precedent. So probably right in that $900 range with shipping and everything else.
Have you ever thought of opening a shop or dealership?
So yes and no to answer that question. I don't think I'd ever be open to the public per se. My long-term goal with this channel is to have something to do in retirement, which is a ways off yet, obviously. But no, I don't think I'd ever open, a brick and mortar store that's open to the public where I'd have a dealership and sell a certain brand or anything like that. I would probably ramp it up a little bit and have more carts in stock and more carts ready to go on a regular basis years down the road, just because that way someone can pull in and say, there's 4 or 5 to choose from, and they can drive them all and see which one they like the best.
Who do you follow on YouTube?
All right, so that's a big question. I follow a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of different, it's not just golf carts, right? Actually, what inspired me to get started with my own YouTube channel was a channel called Vice Grip Garage, totally not golf cart related. Kind of like taking a car that's been sitting for 20 years and getting it running and driving it 600 miles home. That's, like I said, I'm a gearhead at heart, so that's kind of my interest. I watch a lot of other channels. Tara's got to help me with the Matt Carricker. I'm not sure the name of his channel, if it's not the demolition where he's doing the guns and all that, but I think he just changed it to Matt Carricker now. He's actually rebuilding an old ranch in Texas from the ground up and making it open to the public at some point with a shooting range and just all kinds of activities, a river. That's probably 2 of my biggest channels that I watch. I watch a lot of other channels. Another one of my favorites recently has been Dig Drive DIY with Neil. He does anything from splitting firewood to building a pond in his backyard to working on an old John Deere tractor. So just things like that. And a lot of that isn't necessarily the content. It's how they edit and how they do things. I'm trying to learn and get better all the time. I'm using a wireless mic now, which I feel has completely changed the audio quality, a newer camera setup. So still using some old software. I should probably look into that and get some better software and learn more on that. But always trying to improve the channel, always trying to learn from other people and their success. As far as golf carts, probably the only one I really watch that way is Ryan Fentner's with the Fentertainment channel. Shout out to Ryan if you're watching. I know we kind of chat back and forth a little bit on Messenger and compare ideas. So Ryan's channel is, I would say, mostly dedicated to golf carts. He's been doing a lot with that. He dips into some other things a little bit with electric bikes and things like that, which can be interesting. But him and I have a lot of the same interests, I feel, when it comes to golf carts. So golf cart wise, definitely that one. But those are probably my top 4 or 5.
What is your top pick on a lithium battery?
Oh boy. When I first started doing lithium, there was only about 3 or 4 companies that were doing, probably more than that, 3 or 4 that were popular that were doing lithium setups. And now we've got everybody and their brother doing lithium batteries. Of course, I'm affiliated with bigbattery.com, so that's going to be right up there at the top of the list. Big Battery makes a great product at an affordable price, in my opinion. For this, easy to do for the DIYer, no problems there. I really like Eco Battery. I've done some stuff with Allied. So they all have their plus and minuses. Some of the gauge setups are nicer. Allied and Eco make a really nice gauge setup. Some of them have Bluetooth technology now, which is really awesome. Allied and Eco are both leaning that way. But definitely stay away from I guess the fly-by-nighters is what I'll call them, kind of the ones that are trying to swoop into the market and there's no support system. You buy something on Amazon or, whatever, 1-800 battery, that's probably a real thing. I probably shouldn't even say that, but you got to be careful what you're buying. So stick with somebody that's got a reputation, that's been around for a few years, that's going to have the customer service to back it up and, help you if in the event that there was a problem down the road. And this is probably a good chance to remind you. I just got a call from one of the guys over at Big Battery the other day. We were talking a little bit, and I was kind of chatting with him about the company that's basically photoshopping their images and trying to scam people. We talked about that. I think they call themselves Battery Evo, EVO. I mentioned that a little bit on my Facebook page, but there's people out there trying to steal your hard-earned money, and they're taking advantage of successful companies to try to do that. So just be aware of that. Do your research, do your homework, and make sure you're getting a quality product.
Last question. Is it possible to lower instead of lifting?
Well, with enough time, money, and energy, anything is possible. There's a lot of carts out there that are lowered instead of lifted. The lowered look is really cool in my mind. It's not real practical. There's also guys doing airbag setups where you can ride the cart at a normal height and then drop the airbags down. Some of them will set the frame right on the concrete or the ground, which is pretty neat. But yes, anything is possible. If you're going to do a lowered setup, I think probably the easiest cart to do that on is an E-Z-Go, just because they have that straight axle front end and not an independent suspension, so it makes it a lot easier for doing things like that. So I guess that's going to wrap it up for the question. I do want to get into a shop tour and show you some of the tools that I use. I want to thank my wife. She doesn't like being on camera, but she's always here helping me, whether it's pressure washing or suggestions or doing things behind the scenes. So I really appreciate her help. All right, well, I've got all the carts cleaned out at the moment, just to kind of give you a tour. Like I said, it's not a huge shop, but I do want to go through some of the equipment that I use, some of the tools that I use. We talked about a little bit earlier, one of the biggest things is the pressure washer. I've got a nice gas-powered one. I've had it for years. It works amazing. One of my favorite tools, I have a cabinet here, almost a little bit embarrassed to show you. There is zero organization in here, just overflow of product and things that I have nowhere else to go. They kind of get shoved in there and out of sight, out of mind. This is kind of like my little bonus room. There's a breezeway between here and the main garage that I keep just some random things in, keep them out of the way, I guess. When I was building this house, this is one of my favorite parts of the shop. There was a void here when they had all the studs in. There was this big void, and they were just going to drywall over that. So I asked the builder, hey, can you make me a little cabinet there? And boy, has that helped. I mean, look at the amount of stuff we've got in there. It's probably, 10 or 12 inches deep. I keep my nut and bolt assortment in there. A lot of my spray cans, of course, some of it goes into the other cabinet. And then I built this rack years ago. Just made that out of plywood, and I keep all my wire assortment on there, some of the smaller wire. Some of the heat shrinking is in there, so just really handy to have that. One thing I probably should show you in this cabinet, I've kind of, over the years, increased my collection of hardware, so I try to keep just about everything I can on hand because I don't want to have to run to the hardware store in the middle of a project. So a lot of my heat shrinking stuff is in here. I keep a big assortment of rivets, and then these are going to be nuts and bolts over and above what's in that other cabinet. Like I said, it's not really all in the same spot, but it does. These I really like. These are, I think they call them a flange bolt. So it's basically got the washer built in. Um, and I don't know, I just really like those. I got that one, I think, on Marketplace, and the other stuff I've just kind of been collecting over the years. In the shop itself, I did recently mount my air tank. This is an aluminum air tank, so it's super lightweight. I really like that. The steel ones are so heavy, and I would probably never hang it on the wall like that. So I really like that. Just brooms and regular stuff over here in this corner. These are actually my jack stands. Recently got a holder for that just to keep those up off the floor. Of course, I threw my air hose up there. Like I was saying earlier, good quality floor jack. Just some random stuff I've got here. Sawhorses I use all the time. These have been a lifesaver. I wish I would have bought these years ago. They're actually designed for automobiles, but they work great on the golf cart. I tried getting something that was lighter duty that was no good. I ended up sending it back. But I can set a cart on here. I can spin it around. I can tuck it way in the corner versus trying to drive it in. So those have been phenomenal. Air compressor, probably a little bit overkill for working on golf carts, but my intention is if I ever have to do any sandblasting or painting, I'm going to have plenty of air supply, I guess we'll say. I really like Snap-on. Obviously, you've probably seen that in the channel. When I had the house built, I put 2 outlets in, one specifically for the compressor, and the other one I can switch and use my welder or my plasma cutter. Now, I recently just put this on a smaller cart. I had a big cart. It was really heavy duty, and it was really nice. This is just a chintzy one, but it was taking up so much room. And for the little that I use this stuff, I thought, you know what? This cheap cart is probably good enough. I can keep it tucked out of the way. This is a plasma cutter. Bought that online. They were, I don't know, had a $25 off coupon or something. It was like $650. It works amazing. The welder I bought on Marketplace, it is a 220 welder. It's a Lincoln. That, I'm trying to think if it does 3/8 in a single pass. I don't remember, but plenty good enough for what I'm doing. Steel chop saw. And a couple of videos ago, we did some fabrication work that comes in really handy. Of course, my shop vac use that all the time. We'll get over here to the toolbox. Just a lot of random stuff. Of course, ear protection. I always use that just because my wife says I'm too sensitive on my ears. But you only get one set of ears, and when they're shot, they're shot. So I try to keep my ears protected. This, I should have talked about this, is one of my favorite tools. Air-powered rivet gun. Wow, has that been a lifesaver. I was just doing something the other day with those big 1/4-inch rivets, and that thing, I think it was one squeeze, boop, pop the rivet, done, instead of fighting with those hand rivets. Bought that on Amazon. I can't even remember. It was maybe, I don't know, 50, $60. It was super cheap. It works great. I got my chargers here. I use steel products around the yard with weed trimmer, leaf blower, and I love the lithium setup. You know, of course, I love battery operated stuff. So that's going with that. We're not going to dig into the toolbox just yet. I just want to jump over here. I do some woodworking every now and then. So I've got my table saw over here in the corner, and I've also got, you've probably seen me use it on the channel. There's a nice drill press under here, and another Facebook Marketplace find purchase. Actually, both of those works amazing. Not going to bore you too much with all of the every single tool that I use, but this is my top drawer. This is probably my go-to setup. Ooh, right there, got a socket. I've got that in the other room. I better put that away before I forget. But basic hand tool stuff and good quality. I don't have to worry about stripping something out or, you know, having an issue. I just love the stuff. Love the cordless stuff. Works great. Next drawer down is going to be a lot of wrenches and pliers and things like that. Set up with standard and metric. Pretty much everything I need. Lots of vice grips. Never know when something's going to be stubborn and you need vice grips. This is kind of a random miscellaneous drawer. I've got staple gun, an old hand riveter that basically doesn't get used anymore because I've got that air-powered one. I've got a Dremel tool, some of my woodworking tools, a 1/2-inch set of sockets, some random bits, things like that. This is an awesome drawer. They call this the speed drawer, so I keep everything somewhat organized as far as Sawzall blades and just tools, scrapers, just a lot of random stuff in here, hole saws. It just keeps life a lot easier when you're trying to, instead of hunting and scrounging for something, it's right there at your fingertips. This is my electrical drawer. We've got crimpers and, of course, diagnostic, DVOM multimeter. This is a great tool if you don't have one. This is a test light with a digital readout. So if you just need a quick reading, you don't want to grab the DVOM, those work really good. This has been a big lifesaver. We talked about that earlier. That's so I can make my own cables. I think I can do anything from 0 to 4 or no, all the way to 10 gauge, I think that does. So I haven't used all of them, but I use mainly the 2 gauge and like the 6 gauge quite a bit. Here's some more. These are just cheap Amazon ones. I use those if I'm trying to do something quick and don't care if I throw it away when I'm done, because they're literally basically throw away. But these are the better quality ones. Bought these from boltsandnuts.com. They sell some good stuff. There's probably other companies out there. Amazon, you can get them on too, but that's more of the better quality ones. There's some fuses in that box back there. Use the torches for heat shrinking. The automatic crimpers are amazing. Flush cuts, of course. This is a junk drawer. We won't get into that. Got some air tools in here. Staple gun. Got to have that for doing seat reupholstery. Big heavy duty die grinder. This is one of my new tools. I haven't even showed this on the channel yet. This goes into a Sawzall, and then you strap your paint can in there and use your Sawzall to shake up the paint instead of standing there. It's one of the things I hate about spray paint is shaking and shaking and shaking, trying to get it mixed up good. So that's going to be a lifesaver. I saw that on another channel actually. Zip ties down on the bottom. This box is all, or like 90%, 95% club car precedent related. I keep all the hardware for those because I never know when I'm going to need that. Got some router bits in there for my woodworking. Not much in that drawer. Got some room in there. This one's going to be like hammers, punches and chisels, drill bits, things of that nature, wire brushes. And then this big deep drawer, I keep a lot of electrical, Sawzall, jigsaw, router, buffer, heat gun, extra batteries, things like that. When I built the house, I had this put in. That's been a lifesaver as well. I have, it's kind of a cooler day. I've got that set at 70 right now. That's probably a little high. I could actually kick that down a little bit. But in the summer, having the air conditioning is amazing. I look back on some old videos where I was, sweating and working out in the garage and kind of miserable. So to have the air conditioner has been awesome. All right, and one thing I didn't mention was what's behind this door? Wow, this looks amazing. Nope, not at all. It's my water heater. So if that was full of shelves, that would be really cool, but water heater's got to go somewhere. One thing I failed to mention, I do have a TV up on top of the toolbox. It doesn't get turned on a lot because, I can't really have background noise when I'm talking to the camera. So sometimes when I'm out here by myself, I'll throw on, it's always YouTube, I'll throw on either music or maybe listen to someone else in the background, but I like to keep that out here as well. Well, I think that's going to do it. Not your typical Cart Crazy episode, but something I've been wanting to do for a while. Like I said, it is the 100th episode, and I really appreciate all the subscribers. I appreciate comments like you wouldn't believe. I try to read every comment and reply back. Also, like I mentioned earlier, if you didn't catch it, run on over to my Facebook page, Cart Crazy, same title, and look for my logo. You'll find kind of some different content there. I try to do little snippet videos and pictures and things like that, just to kind of keep you informed between videos on what's going on. So make sure you run on over there and check that out. Like I said, thanks for coming along. Subscribe if you haven't. We'll see you next time on Cart Crazy. All right, so we'll dive right into the first question here. My wife's actually going to ask the questions, and I'll do my best to answer them based on, random stuff that I pull out of thin air.
Kermit the Frog here. I'm choking. Elsa just left the building. How many hours does it take